All in the game.
Hey, how y'all doing? It's Big John and welcome to It's All in the Game. So today we're going to talk about something that has been on my list of topics to discuss for quite some time. And while it obviously ties in to recent events, I hadn't got around to it yet, but today is a perfect day to do so. What I'm going to talk about today are no-knock warrants and why they are just inherently dangerous to everybody involved on both sides, why they should not even be legal, and why they're just a generally terrible idea and terrible practice. The reason today is an opportune day to talk about it is because today would have been Breonna Taylor's 27th birthday. If you don't know, Breonna Taylor was a woman, a black woman, who was killed when police ran into her house with a no-knock warrant. What happened back on the 13th of March of this year, Breonna Taylor and her boyfriend, Kenneth Walker, were asleep in their house about 2:30 in the morning. Louisville PD busted in, they kicked the door in. They said that they announced themselves after they had kicked the door in. They were using a no-knock warrant, meaning that they did not identify themselves until after they had busted the door down. Breonna Taylor and Kenneth Walker were both sleeping. Kenneth Walker had a firearm near his bed. He legally owned it. He woke up hearing intruders come into the house, raised up with a gun, and let one off. And he shot a cop in the leg. He thought, he shot an intruder in the leg. And the cops proceeded to shoot 22 rounds into that room, hitting Breonna Taylor 8 times, which means that they missed her 14 times. And you know as well as I do, bullets go through walls. This is in an apartment complex at 2:30 in the morning, so there's probably people home in those other apartments next to them. After the shooting went down, after the shooting happened, Kenneth Walker got on the phone and called 911. And I'm going to just play this 911 tape for you guys, and it's graphic, so I'm just letting you guys know that. This man is upset for good reason. And I want you to notice, like, this 911 call goes on for like 2 or 3 minutes. The cops aren't in the room. It's not like he didn't know what was going on. He did not know that he was shooting at police.
A note to listeners, the content of the call is graphic.
911 operator Harris, where's your emergency?
I don't know what's happening. Somebody in the door and shot my girlfriend.
Okay, where are you located?
I'm at 3003 Springfield Drive, apartment 4.
3003 Springfield Drive, apartment number 4?
Yes. Oh my God.
Okay, how old is your girlfriend?
She's 26. Bring it. Oh
You said 26. Where was she shot at?
I don't know. She's on the grill right now. I don't know.
Okay.
Mama.
You said she's 26. Is she alert and able to talk to you?
No, she's not. Breathe. God.
Okay, and you said you're in apartment number 4?
Hell, oh my God, yes, hell.
What's your name, sir?
Oh, my name is Kenneth Walker.
You said
Hell.
And you said she's 26?
Yes.
Okay, you said 3003 Springfield Drive, apartment number 4?
Yes.
Okay. Can you check and see where she's been shot at?
I think so. That's so they know.
Okay. Is she alert and able to talk to you?
No, breathe.
Okay.
I'm crazy. Oh my God. What the fuck? Oh my God.
Can you get her turned over on her back? I need you to check her and see where she shot at.
Oh my God.
So neither of these people had anything to do with any illegal activity. The police were looking for somebody related to an investigation. They thought he'd been receiving drugs in the mail there. But it turns out that guy had actually been arrested earlier that afternoon. And the end result is that this young woman, who was, by all accounts, an upstanding member of her community, she worked in the healthcare field. She loved doing it. You can see her social media posts. She was proud of helping others. And she lost her life. Immediately afterwards, her boyfriend was charged with attempted murder on a police officer. So, obviously, this is a tragic case. But you have to realize, most drug investigations, or many drug investigations, are built in large part, or at least in some part, on the word of snitches. So these are people who are informing to the police, usually because they're incentivized to do so. They've been arrested and they don't want to go to jail. They've been locked up and they're getting out of jail. Whatever reason, most people don't just up and decide to call the police one day and start snitching. In order for them to fulfill whatever obligation they have to the police, they need to deliver information. So a lot of times this information isn't necessarily reliable even. Somebody might have, I went and bought $50 worth of dope from that White House on XYZ Street from this dude named JR. This is literally the kind of information that snitches will give. And I literally have dozens of cases that I could cite, but I'm not going to make a 45-minute, hour-long video just telling you of all these cases where people had their doors kicked in on information like that, but I could. But the fact is, this happens time and time again. All right? So, back to the point of this, no-knock warrants and why they are terrible. All right? So, a no-knock warrant, as opposed to a traditional arrest warrant or search warrant, what that means is the police are coming to the door, and in the case of a traditional search warrant, the police are going to knock on the door. Boom, boom, boom. Police, open the door. Boom, boom, boom. Police, open the door. We're kicking it in. That's how a traditional search warrant goes. In a no-knock warrant, what's going to happen is the police are going to come with a battering ram. Boom. They're going to bust that door in. Once they get in the house, they're supposed to yell, police, identify themselves, and they're going to run up in the house and do their search. The reason that no-knock warrants are legal is because the Supreme Court found that, in certain cases when the police announce themselves before they come through the door, in some instances those defendants might have time to flush the drugs or dispose of or destroy some evidence or something like that, or maybe have the time to arm themselves. So that's the legal justification for why no-knock warrants exist. But think about this. We live in a country where we have more guns than we do people in this country, all right? That's a fucking fact, y'all. Many of them are legally owned. Some of them aren't. But the fact is, in almost every state in this country, if somebody is running up in your house and you fear for your life and the life of your family, you have the right to light their ass up. So this is something, it just seems like a no-brainer. This is not only something that is a bad idea for people who are inside the house, but this is something cops should be terrified of too. I'm never going to stand up and defend cops' best interest, but in this case, this is in everybody's best interest to get rid of. If I was a cop, I would not want to be executing one of these warrants. There have been so many instances where police run up in the house using no-knock warrants, and it goes wrong. Even if they're in the right house, even if they're in a house that they're absolutely meaning to be at, and they're running up in there to try to get drugs, is it really worth it? This person might be able to flush whatever, a few grams, a few ounces, even a kilo of cocaine down the toilet, versus the life of somebody on either side. Come on. No-knock warrants are just an inherently terrible idea. They're scary. They're a tactic that should not be utilized in a quote-unquote free country. This is something that should not exist anymore. All right, so I've done this in a couple of videos this week. I am going to include a link below where you can write or email your legislators and let them know you think this is just a terrible fucking idea and these have to go. All right, Breonna Taylor was a healthcare worker. She was somebody out there fighting the coronavirus. She was somebody out there doing good in this community, trying to help people. And she loved doing it. She took pride in doing it. She would have been 27 years old today, but she isn't, because she cut 8 bullets from Louisville PD when they came running up in her house in the middle of the night in a dark room, and her boyfriend thought that they were being attacked, that they were being robbed, and in fear and in terror and in confusion, he let off a shot at the intruders. And those intruders happened to be police, and they murdered his girlfriend in cold blood. And no charges have been brought against them to this point. They're on administrative leave, which is what usually happens to police in these situations. All right, y'all. So, if this shit pisses you off, do something about it. At the very least, share this video and try to raise some awareness. But, do more than that if you can. Shoot off an email, shoot off a letter to your legislators. If you don't agree with something, you see something happening that you don't like, do something about it. If we are fed up with something, if we've had enough of it, let people know that. Do something about it. Don't just sit at home and smoke weed and bitch to your friends about it. Do something. Stand up and do something. It's all right to be pissed off. And it's all right to let your voice be heard. Y'all, take care of yourselves. Stay safe out there. Stay informed. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Big John told you so. It's all in the game.